welcome to another episode of Diamond Podcast. I'm your host, local realtor, entrepreneur, community advocate, Alfredo Diamond. Thank you for joining us today. You know, this show is about inspiring others through sharing stories of others that dream big like I do. So if you dream big and want to be inspired, you're in the right place. So I've got a very special guest today. We've been talking about this for a while. I'm glad to have him here. Chancellor, Ivy Tech Community College, Richmond. Dr. Cahd Bolser.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Cahd Bolser.
Well, thank you, but yeah, Chad's just fine with me. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm getting used to that. That's a recent development, so I'm getting used to that when folks call. But Chad's just fine.
All right. So now you come from a athletic background. So between you and your brothers, who was the better athlete?
Oh, the best athlete of it is Clint. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Okay.
There are a lot of statistical evidence we could give to that. He was the best shooter, best runner.
Okay.
Natural athlete. I don't try to dispute that. There may have been a point in my life where I tried, but that's not close. My brother Clay got the size, Clint got the athleticism, and I tried.
You got the smarts. Nah, you all are smart and very doing a great job in your roles. So awesome. So I want to unpack something. So you were chancellor at Ivy Tech before.
Yeah.
And now you're back. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So I as you know, I came from Richmond Community Schools. I was the athletic director. I came as the campus president in 2014 to Ivy Tech here at the Richmond. It was a different administrative system, and that would take a long time. But that title transitioned in 2017 to chancellor, and so I was the chancellor from 2017 until 2019. And in the summer of 19, then I took the job still with Ivy Tech.
Yeah.
As you know, largest singly accredited community college in the country. We're one of one. And so I took a job as the vice president of operations in Indy with the systems office and worked with the president's cabinet and worked primarily with chancellors around the southern half of the state. Over that 3-year period of time that I was there, and it was a great job. I never left Richmond. Our family stayed here.
Okay.
We've been in the same house since both of our daughters were born. So so Richmond's been always really important, and there were a lot of transitions during that 3-year period, and as a result of that, there were some issues with the campus, and so I was watching that and involved with that from my other perspective. And I think when the last one in 2022, the transition took place, it was really important, I think, from a stabilization, a campus that I love, a place that I love, to come back and be a part of that. That's an unusual track, frankly, to make that. Folks that go to the campus don't usually return to the campus. However, from a passionate part of myself and really caring about what the educational framework is in the community and the opportunities for our students, it just seemed like a right thing to do. I've been here over 2 years now, again, and I'm so glad that happened. It was the best professional decision I could have made, and I'm ultra thankful for our president, Sue Ellspermann, that allowed that to take place. And so it's been a great return, and I think I hope that our campus feels the same.
It's amazing. Meeting with you the other day, I was just blown away by some of the things you showed me there, some of the construction going on, the programs.
Yeah.
I know it's a big focus to attract and retain local talent here in the community and partnering with local businesses. What's that like for you with those relationships? Can you talk about some of the programs and things like that?
Well, I think we always talk about the fact that we are workforce. We're the workforce engine, not just of the state, but in our 5-county service area, that we're going to provide many of the workers that are going to do a lot of the jobs that take place here. And they're going to be the folks who will lead the community. And we're a critical function in that area. I think the transition that's happened over the last 10 years since I've been at Ivy Tech, I think there's been a time and a place where education has kind of dictated to the community, hey, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And so we kind of lay that out, and we lay out the menu of options, and then we say select. I think education has changed, and I think we've seen it rapidly change. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we could spend days on why that's changing. But it's why the community college is a great place to be in at this time, because I think we're our innate selves, what we are as an organization is first find out what the community has to say. What are the sectors telling us? What is the healthcare sector telling us? What is the IT sector telling us? Education sector. We go all through that, manufacturing, local industry. What are they telling us? And when they tell us what to do and they lead the conversation, education is way more effective. And I think we're seeing that. We're seeing more work-based opportunities. We're being asked to provide hands-on. Not that we haven't always done that, but as you saw in the tour around the healthcare facility, our success rates in those programs are because from day one, they are in simulations. They're in hands-on, very much in tune with what's taking place in an environment that is going to be just exactly what they work in. And I think, regardless of whether that's in manufacturing or whether it's in IT or whether it's in healthcare or whether it's in any of the sectors that we have. That's what the experience that you get in this space, and I think that's been helping. But first is leading by what industry tells us, what the sectors tell us, what employers are telling us. If you don't do that, then you get kind of into a little bit of an echo chamber.
Have you seen with implementing that strategy and listening to the community partners, the businesses? Have you seen an uptick in enrollment?
Oh yeah. That's I think that's the really cool story about our the last 2 years, and we have a wonderful team over there with a lot of dedicated folks, lots of folks from this area that are leaders in their spaces. And over the last 2 years, we have now had 5 terms of growth. We're about 7% ahead. We were talking a little bit. We're a constant enrollment, kind of an enrollment cycle. We enroll students. We're predominantly an 8-week institution, so we enroll students 5 times a year, which is different than traditional higher education. So we started on August 19th. We'll start another term in October. We just continue down that road. But year over year, we've seen growth, and we've seen consistent growth for about almost 2 years, which we're really excited about. And we're excited about where that growth is. It's in the healthcare space. So connected to our largest employer in this area, Reed Health, that is a really great connection, and we're helping them with their talent needs. We want to be an excellent partner when it comes to that. And also that expands to so many of the other areas. But yeah, those partnerships are the critical piece of it. Our team spends a lot of time. We just got done touring Roots in Connorsville yesterday, and last week we were at A-House Tool and Engineering. We've been out to Belden. We're trying to make sure that not only do we know about them, but they know us, and we understand what their lines look like, what their processes look like. We try to learn from them, and hopefully we'll be able to help and assist and support along the way. So
when you look at, like for Reed, for example, can you touch on how you're taking a deep dive into how you're partnering with them and helping them with their student experience?
Yeah. So I think the healthcare post-COVID, we know that's been a super high level demand area. I think workforce issues across the state and locally. And so I think with the help of Vice President Jason Troutwine over at Reed, we have really, who now serves on our campus board of trustees.
Shout out to Jason.
Yeah, that's right. Shout out to Jason.
Shout out to Jason.
Always shout out your trustees.
Sure.
I have learned that for sure.
Okay.
So as those folks have been helping us guide that to say, we not only have to grow nursing. So the General Assembly said, Ivy Tech, you're the largest producer of nurses in the country. We need you to grow by 25% in 3 years. That was statewide.
Wow.
And so we didn't grow by 25%, we grew by 30%.
Wow.
So that's been super good. While we've done that, we have increased our success rates for the nursing testing, the NCLEX tests at the end, which is how we are measured on the success rate. We constantly are above 90% of our graduates pass that on the first time, closer to 95%. But that's not the entire story.
Yeah.
Because healthcare, although nurses are incredibly important, the larger kind of funnel for healthcare workers is there. And we've been successful with bringing folks in, but we have to touch younger folks. And so high school students, middle school students, we got to be in career, we got to show career opportunities. We got to give them hands-on experience. So our career, Aaron Suits, our career link, careers professional, takes headsets out and engages young folks in some general basic things that they can experience. It's virtual, but it's hands-on virtual, right? And we're trying to build that funnel. We have lots of Randolph County. We've seen the growth of there. We're putting in facilities there. We've seen a lot of places that have engaged with that healthcare pathway so they can get a CNA, they can get CCMAs, they can get some credentials before they walk out of high school. This summer alone, we had 60 high school students that participated in a kind of an intensive, 2 different forms of intensive classes, free of charge.
Wow.
High percentage of them earn their CNA.
Wow. That's incredible.
So when you get those credentials, that is a pathway into healthcare options. So that can lead to a medical assisting or a nurse or med school, as you go through. And I think it takes everything to know that we know this, well. If you think back to the things that inspired you as a young person, you tend to find some passion in that. And lots of times you build a career out of it.
And it's so important. We touched on this the other day when I was visiting the campus. I remember being a student and just going through the prereqs, and I'm like, man, I want to get to the fun part. I want to get to the so much interesting part about my degree. I could see where students may drop out or not be able to hang in there dealing with that. So to see you starting earlier in high school, they've been doing that, but it's a little more focused on it. You got students that are actually getting certificates and a tremendous jump start on their degree. Yeah,
absolutely. And our goal every year is to increase, and we have. Think about this. In our 5-county area, there are about just under 6,000 high school students. Over 2,300 of those high school students, which are predominantly juniors and seniors, so it's a huge percentage, will take a dual credit through IB Tech in just our service area alone. And we are producing credentials, students that earn credentials prior to getting out of high school. That's through the Indiana College Core program.
Okay.
That is through our career program with the very, very specific high-value credentials. And there are on-ramps into other sort of sector pathways. All of that is saying out loud is, one, we have to – we can't complain about individuals not knowing how to work if we don't teach them how to work.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I didn't know. I couldn't sit in a classroom and be taught how to work.
Yeah, no.
No, it doesn't work that way, right? You have to give them experiences of work. And I think everything in the landscape of education is pointing towards that. And I think it's going to take every educational institution to to do their part to ensure that happens. And you think about it like this, and I know, if we think about the business you're in, Alfredo, we think about the education business, but we think about every sector. Individuals may say, I don't understand why there's such a push to get credentials in high school. Think about it like this. Every time a student gets a credential in the high school space, that's one more credential that we get, and we get to value in the county. And by the way, those are measured at the state level. It's a way that businesses, it's a way that people measure how educated your workforce is. And that's an incredible uplift, because Wayne County and our service area, East Central Indiana, is not competing just against our state for businesses and corporations and investment. We're competing against the entire country, and in some respects, the world. Wow. And as we do that, having an educated workforce, having a credentialed bearing workforce, more of that, the higher percentage you go, the better opportunities you have for your county, for your city. That affects your job. Yeah. That affects the healthcare system. That affects the education system. It affects all of it. And we, as educational providers, have to fill those lanes, and we've got to work in partnership to ensure that stuff happens. Ivy Tech has a unique lane. It's an awesome lane to be in, but it's something that's necessary for our community.
Absolutely. Are you finding that these students that you're getting started earlier in high school, do you find that they're sticking and completing the programs? What percentage are continuing to complete their degrees?
Yeah, I think I think it's like anything else. Yes, I think what I would say generally, and let me address this generally, which is, do we enter a student as a sophomore in high school or a junior in high school in a credential-bearing program? In the high schools, we work in partnership with the high school, and they get a credential, and they're absolutely going to finish in that career? No, I think that may or may not happen. Here's what we know, is that if a student is successful in those courses, and if they can earn actual credential, the likelihood that they build on that credential is pretty high. The second thing is, they may not end up staying in that particular career, but the likelihood that they go into another professional career, or they change courses and do this. As you know, I started out as a social studies teacher and a basketball coach, and messed around a little bit at the small college level. Yeah. If someone would have said, I think at some point you'll be chancellor, yes, it's the education field. But this is a totally different track than I thought about. Experience changed my career trajectory. That's no different for what we're experiencing. But what we know is the value of that, the value of being able to earn it, to me inside myself, telling myself and realizing some accomplishment is worth everything in terms of earning potential and the possibility of them being a productive member of our society. It's a critical part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. You think that translates to the students? I know the culture we're in now, people want things now. They want to, COVID was a major player now. People, I can watch a YouTube video, learn a trade, and go, how do you think that stuff?
Yeah, here's I think the challenge for us as educational institutions is, and we have a wonderful partner in Randolph County, is Superintendent Aaron Black. He now moved to Liberty Perry, so he's just outside of Randolph County, but he's a wonderful partner and an excellent educator. What he challenges it to say, you cannot provide a education with a written book in a TikTok area, TikTok age. Yeah. You have to be able to adjust to where the folks are. Yeah. And some people say, oh, well, That's not what we want. That we want old traditional sort of ways. But if we're going to reach our generation, the generation we have to educate, it's going to be important for you and for me and for everybody else that we do a great job of educating this next group of students. And as we do that, we have to engage them on a level. So if the differentiator between a student getting interested in a career is purchasing virtual reality headsets and going and having them spend significant time doing things, whether it be in industry or healthcare or whatever the sector, if showing YouTube videos and creating experiential learning, creating work-based learning, if that's the difference between having a group of successful students and not, I vote we do whatever is necessary to ensure that. Because here's the deal. At some point, I retire. At some point, I have to go into a healthcare system. At some point, I want the very best folks. We joke, we train a lot of phlebotomists, and every time you go and get your blood drawn, having that needle stuck in your arm and not having it have to be stuck a bunch of times and whatever. That preparation happens with live arms and with training ground and whatever at our place. Let me just tell you, those become really important when you got to go into the hospital and somebody's got to put an IV in you. Look, I mean, that's a simple sort of example, but I think it's critical to think about if whatever is necessary to make sure that our students get the very best educational experience and are inspired to do so, I'm for that. And I think it's our obligation as educational institution to ensure that takes place by any means necessary.
And we talk about some of the amazing programs you have, advancement, to students, enrollment. What challenges are you faced with right now?
Well, I think the challenge of enrollment is there's tons of options, right?
Okay.
I mean, there's multiple options. I think there is a question. There is a question out there. I think it's in culture itself that says, what's the value of an education?
Okay.
Is it, do I need to invest resources and time and whatever to get a degree, to get, that sort of thing? I think that's being questioned all the time. What's the value of an education? And I think that's a challenge. I think schools they're being challenged resources wise and different options and different ways of doing business. We're continually trying to evolve in that space. And so that always creates question and doubt in students and parents and families as to what they're getting. And I think it's our responsibility to ensure that students hear that, to hear the successes, to know what the value is. I think that's our greatest challenge. It's amazing if you can inspire a student. They do unbelievable things. And I think we see that from time to time. It is not just necessarily about the day-to-day, the struggles, and there are all kinds of struggles, and I'm so blessed to have been a part of the K-12 education system, and I'm thankful for those who are in that doing the work every day. But we have to get this right. And so I think it's incumbent upon our institutions and our organizations to work to meet the needs of the students wherever we can.
Chad, you're the leader of an organization, and we talk business. Can you explain that? Like how does it all work behind the scenes? Like, are there grant funding? Is there government, state level funding? I mean, is all the revenue generated off of tuition? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. Ivy Tech's unique We're one of one in the United States. So we're the only singly accredited institution where the statewide community college system is connected. So yes, we have a campus here in Richmond. We service our 5 counties in East Central Indiana, but we are connected with all 19 campuses, and we work for the president of the college.
Gotcha.
The General Assembly, we are, they fund, and they've been fantastic to us, supporting us, continuing to support that group. So we are funded in two ways: tuition, and then also state revenue. Okay. That's a traditional format for state organizations. So there's no real magic to that. Okay. The more students you have, and the more students that continue with you, and the more classes they take, the more revenue that you produce. And our kind of mantra and our philosophy is we continue to invest back into the students. One of the things we're so proud of over in our renovation is that we funded it as a campus ourselves.
Wow, it's awesome too.
We certainly will raise money through the foundation, but that is not a part of what we were going to do. If we raise no dollars, we're going to increase and improve that facility, because it's what our industry partner, our healthcare system needs, and that's the critical component of that. So yes. We do get money from tuition and fees. We think that that's a pretty good value at Ivy Tech Community College, and we do get state funding, and we're super appreciative of that. But I think we're good stewards of the state's money and the individual's money, and we continue to try to lower costs to make it beneficial for the students there, and be the very best value for the quality education that we have.
Wow, I always wanted to know about how all that works. So, it's been a pleasure having you here. I got one more thing for you before we go. So, you think about your career path, you think about your role now, your family. Who's one person that you would like to just give a shout out today and just say, hey, I really appreciate what you did for me? Who would that person be, and why?
There are a multitude of those.
Sure.
My parents, my mom and dad were unbelievably instrumental. My dad was a first generation college student, and I went to his master's graduation. At 6 years old, and
wow.
And those are core memories that. He would always talk about that. And I think the umbrella, the cascading effect of my parents and how they approach those things. He was an educator here in Richmond Community Schools, and I think he touched a lot of folks' lives along the way. And I think as a result of that and their partnership and their ability to show the value of an education, I hope that that's been something that has been a part of the career, and folks who come in contact with me, that engage with me in any way, know that that's a part of what I believe in as well.
Wow. Cahd, you got an amazing story. I look so much to see you continue to grow your brand, your business, and in your role at Ivy Tech. So I'm so glad to have you in our community. I can't thank you enough for being here. And that wraps up another show, Diamond Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in.